Hello people, Easy Rider here and welcome to Biker for Life. Today we're going to talk about my long-term review on my 2017 BMW RnineT Scrambler, even wearing my BMW hat today. Anyway, stay tuned. Alright, getting right into it. I got a list of pros and cons. We'll start with the cons first. Things I'm not too happy about with the bike. First thing would be suspension. The suspension on this bike, it's okay. The rear suspension, it only has a preload adjustment and it's pretty tight. It's a real tight rear end, and the front end's a little sloppy, I'd say, a little loose. Real light front end, real heavy back end. Great on the road, don't get me wrong. On the road, handles like a charm. Off the road, not too bad. The front end, though, I have bottomed it out on some really big ruts. So if I ever get around to changing the front end a bit, I'll probably put heavier springs on the front, and eventually the rear shock will probably beat itself to death, and I'll get a better rear shock. Next thing is lack of storage. Yeah, it's a naked bike, I know, but I kind of had plans on putting hard panniers on it, but that's not going to happen. I mean, it can happen, but the bike does not have a rear subframe. There's really nothing to hang panniers on with. You can do it, there's ways around it, but it's Mickey Mouse, looks stupid, and I'm not really sure it's worth the flip. But I have worked around it. I will make some videos on how to carry stuff on this bike. It's not that hard. Just wish I had some panniers on it. Hard to work on. Maintenance on this bike, I'm not going to say it's really hard to do. It's just pretty involved. There's just a lot to do to do simple things. For instance, the oil change. You need to have a special wrench just to get the stupid oil filter off this, and that turned into a 2-day ordeal on me just to get the damn oil filter off. But once you have the special tool, it's pretty simple. But maintenance on this bike is not the easiest thing on earth. It's just really involved. For instance, on the Harleys, valve adjustment is non-existent. You don't adjust valves. On BMW, on this bike, it uses a shim type adjustment, and not that it's hard to do, it's just you have to have a shim kit, a digital caliper, or whatever those things, a micrometer, and blah, blah, blah. It's more of a pain in the ass than I feel like dealing with. Luckily, you don't have to do it too often, but maintenance, not on the simple side on this bike. Hard to stand up on the pegs. That's another thing that kind of gets on my nerves on this bike slightly. If you have to stand on the pegs on a real gnarly section of road, you're just hunched over. It's not a natural position. Workaround on that is some guys have put risers on the handlebars, kind of get you kicked back a bit, because you are kind of leaning forward on this thing. And the only thing I don't like about that idea is I don't have a windshield on this bike. And that's one of the pros on this bike, is you really don't need a windshield, even though it's a naked bike. You really don't get a lot of wind turbulence on this bike, and I'm afraid that if I raise the handlebars up and then I'm sitting up higher, I might get more wind turbulence, and for the few times I have to stand up on the peg is really worth it, I mean, you could stand on the pegs, it's just kind of awkward compared to other bikes. Well, that's pretty much on the cons. On the pros, love regular gas, regular unleaded, 87 octane, runs all day on this bike. In fact, they tell you not to put anything higher, it'll run crappier. So, yeah, you run it on El Cheapo gas, which you can find pretty much anywhere. Gets about 50, 55 miles per gallon on the average for me. Sometimes a little lower, but right around, I've been averaging about 50-ish, which is pretty good. I mean, I can't complain about that. Lightweight, love it. It's real light. I really enjoy a light bike. I don't know the weight off the top of my head, but what I really like about the BMWs in general is the BMW clubs. Just like Harley has a HOG, BMW has an MOC, which I joined. The RA, the Riders Association, and they have an MOA, which I've also joined. And through all those three groups, I've met just wonderful people. Went to a whole bunch of rallies and campouts, and just a great group of people. Wherever, I live in Ohio, but There's BMW clubs all over the United States, and I'm assuming elsewhere too. And that's one of the biggest things about owning a BMW, just like the Harley, is just the groups that you can join. And if you own a BMW or looking to own a BMW, join the groups, man. Just, it's well worth it. Some of you guys are, oh, I don't want to ride with nobody, blah, blah. Join the groups, man. They're a great group of people, and you'll have a lot of fun with them. One thing I like about this bike is it always gets a crowd. No matter where I go, people come up and ask questions about it. Even at the BMW rallies, I'm like, there was the BMW RA rally in Wellsboro I went to. Out of a couple thousand bikes, I was the only guy there on a Scrambler. So guess what? Everybody's looking at my bike and asking questions. That's kind of cool if you're into that. It's fun to ride. Fun to ride. Oh my God, it's a great bike to ride on the twisties, on dirt roads, on pretty much anything you throw at it. The only kind of place it really doesn't shine is interstate highways, but they suck anyway, and I never ride on them much. Interstate highway, anyway, that's another subject. No need for the windshield, like I mentioned earlier. I thought the first thing I'd buy on this bike was a windshield, and I've had it for a year. I ride either a 3/4 helmet with a face shield or a full face, and hardly get any wind buffeting. I've rode it in the winter and fall and spring, and I love it, man. Just don't need to have a windshield on it. Not bad on long trips. I've taken this on, like I said, a couple rallies, probably about 8 or 9 rallies, loaded up for the weekend, big, long, all-day affair trips, and it's not bad, for the funky seat on it that looks uncomfortable. It's really not that uncomfortable, at least for me. I love it. And I've taken it on, all-day rides, 9, 10-hour, 12-hour, in the saddle type rides, man, and just loved it, on back roads, and just a joy to ride. And finally, the tires. A lot of people didn't like the Metzler tires. I had mentioned earlier on my other shorter review that it takes a while to kind of get used to them, but believe it or not, I got 7,500 miles out of the rear tire, and the front tire is still going strong. They were great tires. The Metzlers are just wonderful tires on all road surfaces, wet, tearing up the twisties. I mean, once you get used to them, they're really not all that bad. Now, I did not put a Metzler back on the rear because the Caroot 3s are just crazy expensive, man. So I put a Shinko, I'm going to say 705. I'm bad with remembering numbers. I'll do a separate video on that. I just put it on a couple weeks ago. I haven't had enough miles to really make a comparison, but so far it feels great to me. So, bottom line, would I buy this bike again? I mean, for what I know now about the bike, overall, I'd say I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Would I buy it again? Probably. Right now, I found out you can get a Moto Guzzi Stelvio, brand new with bags and everything, which is kind of like the GS 1200 for the same money you could buy this bike for. And it'd be a hard choice right now between the Stelvio and this, but probably I'd go with the BMW just because I like the BMW clubs. I've met a lot of people, and they're just great people. Not that the BMW club wouldn't let you in with a Stelvio, but it's just nice to have the same bike that the club is, And so yeah, long term, will I keep this bike? Yep, gonna keep the bike probably for quite a while. Really love the bike. Like I said, 8 out of 10. It would be a 10 if I could put panniers on it and the seating position was a little bit better. But other than that, love the bike. I've had no maintenance issues with it, nothing. Just normal wear and tear, oil change, stuff like that. Anyway, if you're looking to buy one of these, I'd highly suggest it. And unless you want to step up to a GS 1200 or the new 850 or something like that, but you're going to pay a lot more money. But you will get storage if that's something you can't live without. The RnineT is just not like you're going to have storage on. Just ain't going to. I mean, it can happen, but good luck on that. Anyway, hope this helps. Got any questions? Put it down in the comments below. Give it a big fat like. Subscribe. I'm going to try to put out a lot more videos. It depends on my schedule. Anyway, hope you got something out of this. Easy Rider signing off.